As you can hear yourself, the Amabutho are sending the king off with song. So the vehicle you're seeing that's in between them, that Mercedes, black Mercedes, Bucky or minivan in between them, is the one we believe the remains of the king are in, Stephen. It's enclosed by them, you know, from back to front, side to side. It's enclosed by them, only them, and they told us to move back so that we don't come any closer to its end. But as you can hear, Stephen, the song hasn't stopped since they moved from the mortuary. I'm just going to give you a bit of a taste of that music. Just listen in. And that's how you send off a king, Stephen. You walk with his body, Amabutho, from his remains rather, from where we were in Nongoma, Funeral Parlor, and we're now on the road leading to KwaKhethomthandayo Royal Palace. So that music is expected to continue until they reach the palace. And I must tell you, Stephen, for someone who's been here since Friday, it's quite a long way. These men are fit if they're going to walk all the way to there, because it is quite a stretch. It's quite a walk. It takes us 15 minutes by car. So I'm not sure how long it will be by the fact that they're simply walking with the remains of the king in between them, almost creating a barricade of some sort as Induna, singing song and song throughout this whole process. Stephen, also, as my colleague Zianda said, the skies are beginning to turn. It looks like almost a bit of a storm is coming. And I guess that's also befitting because a monarch is being laid to rest. And you always say that a monarch is sent off when the skies change and there's a storm. You really know that someone prominent, someone who's been in the throne for so long, is really being sent off, because you never send away a king without some of the skies rumbling. So they call him Ngonyama, the lion, Isilo, the king, because of that kind of respect he commands, Stephen. So also my colleague alluding to the fact that there's so many processes going on. The government processes are involved. You know, Zulu traditions have to be adhered to. The customs here must be adhered to, and the Indunas who are here, the Amabutho are here, are very protective of that, Stephen, about everything must be done right. They've been telling us here off camera that they don't want to miss a beat in how they lay this man, this iconic monarch, to rest, and saying that he's not only father of Amazulu, he's not only king of Amazulu, but he's king of South Africans. His king was known worldwide, Stephen. So what you're seeing here is exactly that, the befitting send-off. I do not have the word to describe to you how it feels to be here, just to witness the kind of familyness, kind of togetherness, the kind of protectiveness that these Amabutho have of these of their king, and also of their rights, of their Zulu rights, when it comes to honoring his internment, which will happen tonight at midnight. So everything you're seeing here right now is movement of this convoy, with song accompanying the king. We're walking with them down it's been a while now, but it's also going to be quite a long stretch, as I've said, but we'll be there with them throughout this process. Back to you, Stephen.
Bonga, this really is an important moment. As you say, it's a long journey, it's an important journey. And of course, I mean, for the Amabutho, for them, it's really important to show their respect, to show their togetherness. It is, in a way, about who they are. What we're seeing now, is who they are.
Exactly, Stephen, because when one king bows out, another one must rise. So all those processes must be interlinked. I was speaking to one of the ladies who are saying that, why are you here? Explain to me. She said, I'll never see this again in my lifetime. You know, I'll never know what it is to be like to send off a king. Yes, her heart was broken. She said her father, she called him, had died or passed on, but at the same time she's celebrating his life. It's important that they celebrate his life, and that's what they're doing right now. Businesses here, Stephen, have closed down. I mean, if you walk down, they've never seen before. People have just decided to close down, come out in their numbers, and form a guard of honor towards this long stretchway, so that they can be part of this important moment, important milestone, and also important historical event, which is the send-off of the monarch, late King Zwelithini. So the togetherness of here is very important. The unitingness of them, they've been saying that they have to stay united because the king was a man of unity, particularly when it comes to respecting traditions, particularly when it comes to the Zulu nation, particularly when it comes to South Africans too, that he wanted to ensure that unity is preserved in whatever way possible. There's a bit of a stop now, Stephen. I'm not sure what the movement is for, but they are stopping it now, and there will be, sort of looks like there will be direction given by the head of Amabutho here, but we are still here with them, with the convoy going through. As you say, if you see for yourself, it's still going on, it's still happening, and the Amabutho are now listening into a briefing, if you will, from one of the heads who's leading the procession, Stephen. So everything done is being done meticulously to a point, but I think they also need to get a move on a bit, because, Stephen, the skies are really not that kind right now. It looks like they're starting to turn. So I don't know how long it will before the rain starts downpouring on us, because it really, really has changed the weather. But there's no drop of rain yet, but it looks like there will be. And whether or not this will affect this procession, we will see, Stephen. Again, the music is starting and they're moving again. So it looks like, Stephen, everything is being done again. They're moving for it. They're picking up the pace again. I think they're aware of the situation we're in. It's a long trek to go to KwaKhethomthandayo. The skies have turned, and I think now the Amabutho also realize that, because they're picking up the pace. Stephen?
Well, Bonga, I mean, as you say, picking up the pace, people also, I imagine, talking about the legacy of the king. They're paying their tribute and talking about the legacy of the king. They're talking about his role in history. But there's such a long history that goes before that. This is all based on a history that goes back hundreds of years. What's happened with King Zwelithini Zulu is important, but that history that goes back so much further is important as well.
Exactly, Stephen, and you must remember that with history here is the history he leaves behind. I mean, everyone might not have their own opinions of the late King Zwelithini, but a lot of people here still credit him as being a uniting force between the taxi violence that gripped this province a few years ago when he came into the monarch, and also when he was still early in his throne, when the violence happened between ANC and the IFP in this province too. All politicians we heard yesterday have credited him of doing that, from your Ace Makashule to your IFP leader, Nkatha Freedom Party leader, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, saying that he's a man who didn't want conflict. He's a man who wanted everything to be done right. He's a man who decided that violence will not solve anything, and that's why he would step in, ask the ANC leaders to come through, to meet him and discuss, how do you form a way of you guys don't fight? So what the history that he leaves behind, Stephen, is that of one. Also, he has a role of being credited as being a champion for ensuring that the spread of HIV and AIDS is limited in this province. So he champions circumcision, medical circumcision within young men in this province. So that's one of the biggest legacies that politicians attribute to him. But when you come to the cultural side of things, when you speak to people here on the ground, Stephen, anyone you speak to, they say that he was a father figure. He was warm. He spoke to them like their own children. He was not this arrogant, if you will, or was not aloof, but he was a man who was warm, who spoke to them like they were his own children, and that he was a man also who believed that you had to resolve conflict with each other. And I think that's the most important thing, Stephen, is going forward, whoever takes over that huge step of being the monarch, and after someone who has ruled for close to 50 years, how do you emulate that leadership? How do you show it's not tainted? How do you not erode it? So those things are equally important, because these people in front of me will be keeping a close eye on that, because they have so much love for his predecessor, whoever takes over. They have so much protectiveness against his legacy being tarnished. There are a lot of opinions, of course, even when someone passes away. I think we've seen that with the articles coming out. We've seen that people criticizing the king. But what I'm witnessing here is a community that's feeling a sense of loss, and they've decided to come together and send him off this way, because they believe not only was their king, but he's their father. Stephen?
And Bonga, they're coming together at the most difficult time. No one foresaw that the once-in-a-lifetime event of the passing of a Zulu monarch would occur during the middle of a pandemic. And this accounts the images we see now of people performing a rite that goes back many hundreds of years, paying tribute to someone in this way, and yet having to wear face masks to do it. It is, in a way, one of the images of this time is what we're seeing now. This is one of the moments that we're going to remember from the time of the COVID-19 pandemic in South Africa.
Exactly, Stephen, and it's one of those moments I think you're lucky to be part of. I mean, I'm standing here right now and I'm watching this and the unbelievableness of it all. And I could see even the man in charge of this whole procession with the sanitizer now and again spraying on the hands of these Amabutho gentlemen so that they remember that there's a pandemic. Most of them are wearing masks, Stephen, because that's what needs to do to adhere to COVID-19 regulations. Most of them are social distancing because you need that. It's very crucial. I think the mayor had said that they can't ask for people to stay home while they erode COVID-19 regulations. They have to lead by example. Of course, it's not perfect, Stephen. I mean, this is still some sort of gathering. There's still a risk that it could turn into a super spreader because of so many people being here. But what we are seeing, they say that they're trying sometimes to ensure that social distancing is maintained in between them. They're also making sure that one of the gentlemen here is just pointing at me saying that I'm talking a lot. So it's also a situation where they want to ensure that the COVID-19 regulations are not flouted because they realize that these moments are captured on TV, live television viewing. So this is the situation we're in now. That's what is happening. So the song is still ongoing, Stephen. I can't describe how far we are because we're still quite far from the palace. As you can see, the Amabutho are still here doing what they do best, singing. And this is the vehicles, Stephen, rather, that we believe the remains of the king are in, just the ones that we're seeing the visuals of where they're guarding it basically. And one of the gentlemen here who's in charge is here in front of me right now. He's the one singing. Just again, he's basically leading it by song, Stephen, and he's been very, very critical about doing everything right. If one young man steps out of the way or goes rogue, he goes up there with a stick that he's carrying and he hits them here just below the knee or on top of the thigh so that they remind you that you are still part of a procession, so don't do your own thing. So there's a very uniformness, Stephen, here, but also discipline needs to be maintained in every way possible. So that's what's happening right now. The song is still ongoing. Bystanders have joined into. School children also, Stephen, are here. You know, all of them are here to pay tribute to the king. I'm guessing that the schools have now come to a close. So young and old men are also here, older gentlemen rather, are also here paying tribute to the king. So it's an all-important event that everyone wants to be part of, but those who are part of want to ensure that they're doing it right. Stephen?
Bonga, I mean, I was just going to comment on that, and that was what struck me as well, and I'm not nearly as close to it as you are. But of course, you know, sometimes you see a procession wherever it may be in the world, and you'll see that young children or other people are sort of shooed away, told they can't be a part of it. That's not the case here. What you have here is a community coming together, but there's leadership and discipline as well, I would suggest. You're closer to it than I am. And so what you have as a result of that is a situation where you have that discipline, you have the COVID-19, you have the leadership, you have the songs that we've been hearing all the way through your coverage this afternoon. And at the same time, it's not exclusionary. People are allowed to watch, walk in the road, be a part of it. The children are there. I mean, this is what makes it quite special in a way.
Exactly, Stephen. And I don't know if it's right to say this, but it's almost impossible, I think, I would say, for COVID-19, all COVID-19 protocols to be maintained, particularly in this situation, because you can't control everything. You know, people are going to come out because they love this king. They want to be part of history, if you will. They want to ensure that they say goodbye in some form of way, even if they're not allowed at the palace where we're going to, but at least they can be part of this procession, this long convoy. I can't explain to you how traffic has basically come to a standstill, Stevie. There's throngs of cars just behind us right now, that are leading up to I'm just going to ask my colleagues more just to pull up the camera to show you just how far it goes by. And it's going to take a while, I think, Stephen, because it goes into town too. So you can imagine the kind of power, the kind of influence, the kind of love that King Zwelithini inspired, that for a whole town, Nongoma, to basically come to a standstill, businesses to close, schools are closed also by the looks of the children that are here, and to come and say goodbye, bid farewell to King Zwelithini, a man they describe as a father, a man they describe as a king, a man they describe as a unifier of his people. And even though they say that it's painful that he has gone, but at least they're saying that they got to live in an era where he was their king. They got to experience him, they got to know him. They might have not met him, but the way he was about the Zulu nation, the way he inspired love, is some of the things that this is why they've come out. And when you speak to local members here, saying that the king is their father figure to them, and they have to say goodbye whatever way possible. So you can see them here next to us as bystanders, making sure they're part of this moment in history of a time when you are going to be part of a procession and also saying goodbye to a king who has bowed out. Stephen?